her life freedom. She who incubate inverts in her vessel. Power of the Trinity still. Power of the Trinity still. Power of the Trinity still. So greetings everyone on YouTube. I want to welcome you into our energetic community over here. Happy full moon in Capricorn. We're joining together with some friends and members of the tribe on Instagram. So we're going to be having sort of a joint community over here. So I'm also live at Temple of the Goddess on Instagram. Francoise, welcome. Please remember to share this. You can share it as a direct share on direct messenger on Instagram. And you can also just share it on like your Facebook page. Guys, give me a second. These darling cats, for some reason, these sunflowers get them very excited. So I'm going to let them go relax somewhere else, okay? Okay. Come back here. Who's protecting the national interest and the incentives? What the committees and what the representatives. So if you're just joining, I want to encourage you to light a candle, light some incense, get your vibes going. As many of you know already, we're all about frequency and vibration right now, which is why we are playing the music of Akebeka, who was the name of a prophet who crossed into the spiritual realms and also represents a frequency of pure unconditional love. So, just going to let a few more people join us. Hey, there's Britt. Hey, this lady. Oh, it's so good to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And I think if you're live with us on YouTube, can you let me know if you can hear the music from YouTube or only from Instagram? So, also, I would definitely recommend that you bring a journal and a pen. And as you know, what I like to do is show up and be present as a vessel and see where the Most High wants to take us together. So journal, pen, candle if you have one, light some incense. Who is Fuego Yogi? I know who that is, but I can't remember. Am I recording this? Yes, I'm going to share it onto my Instagram page when we're done, and then it'll be accessible on YouTube as well. Thanks for asking, Miss Lady. So what else do we need? You could get you could put a glass of water out. Water is really good as an offering and also to absorb energies. You could bring something forward that represents your intention. All right, I'm gonna play us this song as we calm our vibrations. Is that you? Okay, Gabby, it's you. I thought that was you. Just wanted to make sure. So, I'd love to know how everyone is feeling. What is your vibration today? What are you picking up on? I have some pretty exciting news that I'm going to be sharing with you all today, which is why you haven't seen much of me on Instagram recently.
There's been a lot marinating and coming into form. So how's everybody feeling? What are you guys picking up on in the collective frequency? Feeling restful and full of creativity. All right, good. So if you're just joining, we are listening to the frequency of Akebeka, who was a prophet and a powerful spiritual being who came to teach us about the frequency of pure divine love and truth. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. We'll listen to this a little bit later. So if you are just joining, I'm going to say this just one last time, that in the lives that I do and in all of the work that I do, I try to have as little of an agenda as possible, as my intention is really to be present with spirit and to allow myself to be as pure and clear of a channel as I can be. So that's why I'm here with you all tonight. My only agenda is just to be present and to be a clear vessel. So I want to begin by sharing the vibrations and reflections that have been with me today. It's certainly not hard to understand the relationship between this day that is symbolized as freedom for this country, while we know that many of our brothers and sisters were not living in freedom, right? So it's hard to fully celebrate freedom from that perspective on July 4th. But aside from that, today, this particular July 4th seems unusually ironic, doesn't it? In the sense that some things have changed since that time, but many things have stayed the same. And that's because the power structures that existed at the founding of this country intended for things to be this way. So it was the foundation that was set and was created when this country was built. So one thing that is very incredible to understand is that this eclipse is exactly opposing the eclipse, the astrological configuration that happened on July 4th of 1776 when the moon was in Cancer at the exact same degree of where it is now. Capricorn, the moon is in Capricorn at 13 degrees. So there's a whole kind of oppositional, transformational energy taking place right now. And there are also a lot of many potent events that have taken place with events precipitated by eclipses right around this degree of Capricorn. So let's start by grounding into the sign of Capricorn and the planet that rules the sign of Capricorn. All right. So as we live on the planet Earth, the planet that governs the earthbound laws that govern our existence is the planet Saturn. So Saturn is the one that truly governs our purpose. Saturn is the one that makes sure that we do what we came here to do, you know? It's very much about accountability and about responsibility. So when you hear about people going through their Saturn return, that's really the first time when Saturn is going to come back around to exactly where it was when you were born, when you turned 28. And that period can be very difficult if you're not connected with your purpose and what you came here to do. And I can attest to that because I certainly was not connected with my purpose at that age. And I went through a very difficult time. And so, Saturn is basically the sort of our archetypal grandfather, the one that wants to make sure that we're doing the right thing and things of that nature. It's also referred to as Kronos, and it's the planet that rules the sign of Capricorn. So, every planet has all different types of vibrations that it can be expressed through, right? It has the sort of positive, optimistic, constructive aspect, and then it has a harsher aspect that often takes place and comes to fruition when we're not being obedient. Now, when we say obedient, what does that mean, obedient? Someone else just joined us. Oh, feeling peaceful. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad. You're picking up a vibration of union for the collective. Wow, Gabby, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And so, when we talk about Saturn and Capricorn, we're also talking about rulership. We're talking about the authority that we look to. And so, as kind of a foundational principle or energy for this eclipse that we're about to head into, this is going to be is this technically our 5th or our 6th eclipse of this year? Because I think we had one, the day before the year started. So it's kind of like, technically I think it's 5, but it really feels more like 6, which is unusual. I mean, it's like, this is the birth canal, right? So the eclipse portals are really like the actual energetic simulation of a birth canal. So anyway, back to Saturn and Capricorn. So what aspect of Capricorn was I just talking about? Rulership. So the foundational, I feel like, message coming out of this eclipse portal is about freedom and authority. Who are we looking to for authority, and who are we looking to for freedom? Who has the ability and the power to grant us freedom in our lives? So that's something for us to really meditate on. And if you did bring a journal, and if you did bring a pen or a marker of some kind, I would write that question down. Who has the ability to grant me freedom in my life? Hey, Miss Moon Womb Doula, Lee Kelly. Thanks for coming to join us. And if I'm not saying your name, welcome. I just don't know your actual name. So anyway, this time of us birthing ourselves into the age of Aquarius, a huge aspect of this transformation for all of us is transforming that gaze from being outer to being inner, right? Because really the only person that needs to give you permission or approval is here, right? Your inner self and in your relationship to the Most High. That's the only place that you need to look. You need look nowhere else. And so, during the Piscean age, humanity was very much in a place in its evolution where humanity wanted to be told what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to think. And so to be birthed out of that frequency into the frequency of the age of Aquarius, that's a birth canal. That's a whole process to go from being someone that looks outside of yourself and wants someone else to tell you what to do, to being someone who can look inside for your own internal authority, to become your own internal authority. That's a whole transformation. That's a whole birth canal of shadow work, of deprogramming, of reprogramming. That's not just a thought process. Like, I think I want to just look to myself from now on. I'm going to be my own internal authority. It doesn't work like that. Not at all. But that's a good start. So I wanted to just offer that and offer a couple of questions around that for you to work with as we lead up to this eclipse. So, on the East Coast, we're not entering into the eclipse until, let's see, let me read it to you guys in my beloved Wee Moon book, which I recommend that you order every year in the fall for the following year from my sister, Mama Rain, who lives on the land and has raised 7 children in the ways of Mother Earth. She's my superhero role model. All right, so the moon in Capricorn is going to be completely full at 9:44 Eastern Pacific time. So that's going to be 12:44 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, July 5th, early in the morning. So 12:44 a.m. And then the eclipse is at 9:32 West Coast time and 12:32 East Coast time, July 5th. Okay? So we have about 11, we have about what, like an hour and a half or so. So this is a really perfect time to be like tuning into your own vision. You know what I mean? It's always so important what we're focusing on, where we're allowing our attention and our energy to go. But right now, it's especially potent because we're in an eclipse. It's literally like a supercharged vortex, a lot of magic and power in this tunnel. So yeah, that's the questions to begin really pondering is, what does freedom mean for you? What does freedom look like? What would a life of wild freedom be for you? If you had a magic wand and you could create any reality for yourself, which you actually can create, what would that look like? And then the second aspect of that is, throughout your life, who have you looked to for authority? Right? Who have you looked to tell you that you're okay? To tell you that you can do something, to give you permission. And most of us have been programmed through the era that we came in from to look outside of ourselves. So this is this transformational energy. All right. So I also would like to ground us in a very general way into the overall aspects of what we're dealing with. So we know that Mars has gone into Aries. And we know that with Mars and Aries, the way that these planets work is that Mars in Aries is going to come to a certain degree where it's going to square Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn, because these are our cardinal elements, Aries and Capricorn. So when they come into aspect, it's a square. A square is the most difficult energy that we find in the sky. It's an energy that can be healed, but there can often be a painful situation that allows us the opportunity to heal it, that brings it to the surface. So, Mars in Aries is going to bring a lot of energy and momentum to this birth canal. So it's like a quickening or a speeding up process. So we're coming out of Mars being in Pisces, and Mars being in Pisces was more spiritual, this type of spiritual energy, more like a pause. But now with Mars going into Aries, it's going to really speed up. Keep in mind, what we went through this last year, March, April, the entire situation around the world went like when Mars came on the scene. Okay, and that in that case, Mars was transiting, meaning it was crossing next to, coming close to those planets. In this case, starting in August and October, and then I think it's December, it's going to be squaring. That's a lot more intense. And that's one of the odd things about when you learn astrology is that it teaches you to read energies. So is it a blessing to know more about what's coming energetically? I hope so. No astrologist can predict exactly what's going to happen, but the energies present themselves, which is why every astrologist has been speaking about the Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto conjunction for the last couple of thousand years, because it's in Capricorn. So what does that tell us? It means that the system will fall, right? We all know that false power is bound to fall. And we are literally walking through this lifetime where this false power structure built on essentially satanic, energies, false power will fall. And we are sitting here witnessing, holding space for the disillusionment of the patriarchy. And did we think that the patriarchy was just going to give up without a fight? Did we think that was just going to be some type of like a handshake or something like that? That was like when the Spanish came to Hispaniola, and the trick they did all over the world, where they would go and they would make a peace treaty with the ruling indigenous, or African, leader, royalty, only to massacre them. So we're not dealing with energies that give up easily. We're dealing with energies who have had a long-term strategic, which is Capricorn, Saturn, right? Strategic planning is the world of Capricorn. So, things are the way that they are right now by very pure intention. Pure meaning clear. Pure not meaning good. Pure meaning clear in this sense. Let's see. Absolutely. Tell me, can you all clarify when you say that is beautiful and absolutely? So anyway, we're going to get more and more into what we're creating as we go, but I want to give you all sort of a foundational sense of where we are, because I believe that it's very important that we're informed about where we're coming from. So we knew that when Saturn and Pluto came together on January 11th, that was going to basically set off something. Saturn came up and transited, which means came right next to Pluto at 22 degrees of Capricorn. Saturn being the authority, the patriarchy, the power structures in Capricorn, in the energy of the patriarchy. Pluto being death and rebirth and transformation, with no regard at all to what it might look like or feel like. Because Pluto's goal and Pluto's entire role and mission is transformation. So don't talk to Pluto about how you feel about it. That's really not Pluto's concern. Pluto came to get a job done. And that's what Pluto is doing right now. Pluto moves so slowly that the transformation that it brings forward is extremely profound. Extremely profound. It takes 20 years to go through one house of your astrology chart. To give you some context, it takes the moon 2.5 days to go through one house of your astrology chart, to get through one sign. It takes Pluto 20 years. Pluto is comprehensive. So it's almost like we're sitting here like, how much longer are we going to have to watch the final gasp of the patriarchy? This is a lifetime of transformation that we're walking through, that we signed up for. Because we came here for this, right? We spent our whole lives preparing for this moment that we're in right now. So I think it's important that we ground ourselves into the reality of what is right now. And what is right now is that we are really just in the beginning stages of this final gasp and the final downfall of the patriarchy. And that will be happening in some realms of existence for some people for quite some time. And it'll be happening more in the periphery for those of us who are really here to create and to build and to design the new paradigm. And that will be our focus. But, we'll be seeing the smoke and the haze and the lightning. We'll know it's over there, but it's not going to be the focus of what we came to do. What were you saying when you were talking about your inspiration and the creator of the wee moon? Oh, yes. I completely agreeable to what you're speaking. The rulership going on now is very soon to fall. Yes. I believe that the powerful, positive energies of the universe allow all things. And I believe that they allowed that for a specific reason. It has to do with our evolution, the evolution of our consciousness, the evolution of humanity. But yes, there's no way that it could not fall. It would have to fall, right? Based on the way that the laws of the universe function. So I say all this to say, not that we need to get into some type of desperation around how long is this going to last. It's not that. It's that this is a very thorough process, and it needs to be a thorough process. So it's like, let's just go ahead and jump in and engage ourselves in this work. Let's go ahead and say, we came here for this. We came to get reprogrammed, to be reprogrammed, to reprogram ourselves, to completely shift our frequency, to completely transform what the human mind believes we're capable of as humans, as spiritual beings having a physical experience. I mean, how exciting is it to be on the earth during a time where what it means to be human is going through an entire transformation? I think it's pretty exciting. That doesn't mean it's easy, but easy isn't always the best thing that we're going for. All right, so I want to spend just a couple of more minutes talking about Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, because it was Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter that came together when everything kicked off with this situation, we'll just call it. Thank you, Britt. The situation, so Jupiter and Pluto coming together is known to be the conjunction that has to do with pandemics, right? Because Jupiter is going to expand the healing. It's expanded healing. And Jupiter is also about truth, spiritual truth, So truth is being revealed. I mean, look at the things going on in the news right now. I don't watch the news because to me it's just false information being spread. But from what I hear, things are coming to light. That's all that I need to know. That's all they care about. It's just basically that prophecy is being fulfilled. From what I see, what I hear people talking about, I see prophecy being fulfilled. That the truth is revealed. Truth will be revealed. The truth is being revealed. Truth will always be revealed, right? We know that. We know that truth will always reign, eventually. So January, February, March, April, May, then those planets that came together to create these intense energies, they started to break up, right? Started to, Mars came out, and Jupiter came out. Mars came out, Saturn came out. Jupiter is moving very slowly right now. Jupiter started moving away. Then everybody decided to go retrograde. So do you all understand what that means? Do you understand that the planets that came together to form this energy that has come up to the surface in the last few months, do you understand that those planets are going back to be together? They're going back. But this time they're going to be in retrograde. So, the energy is going to be intensified in a very specific way. It's going to be a lot on repairing. It's going to be a lot more of a focus on the internal aspect, which leads us to the whole conversation that we've really been focusing on the last few weeks, which is frequency. So in case you're just joining in this conversation, I'm just going to say like one or two sentences just to give a very quick recap, which is just to say that there are a lot of very low vibrational energies on the earth right now. And that's because of us coming out of the age of the patriarchy. There is a lot of trauma. There's enough trauma to go around. We'll say that. The trauma that has been survived by humans, that humans have been living through over the last few thousand years, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. And those of you who are in my courses, that we talk about shadow work a lot for that reason, because we know that to emerge into the next frequency, we have to shift through our shadow work. We have to release and let go of these trauma vibrations, because they are dense. dense energy. And, we're not going to get into this right now, but we have to remember that anytime we are releasing something, we have to give thanks for it. So, for example, let's say we're releasing an addiction to tobacco. Sometimes when I hear people talk about addictions, they talk about their addiction in such a judgmental way, in such a kind of an angry way at the substance. It's like, no, that's not going to serve your transformation. What's going to serve your transformation is giving thanks for that substance, that it was the medicine that you needed at that time, that it allowed you to come through where you are today. And that's the same thing about trauma. There are gifts that live behind the trauma that we get to journey into and that we get to discover on our path of healing. So just a reminder that as we're shifting these vibrations and as we're raising our frequency, we must always give thanks for every step of the journey. Because every step of the journey, those shadows become the fertilizer and the compost for the garden that we're growing and that we're planting now. We can't have this garden without that fertilizer and that compost. Agape peace. Nice to see you. Can you remind me if we've met before, please? So, let's move on now to discuss a few aspects of frequency. So frequency is, yes, Gabby, thank you, me too. So frequency is simply an expression of the truth. Oh, Francoise, that's yours. Okay, I don't know why I can't remember. Maybe if you have an image next to it, I'll eventually get with the program. Frequency is simply a word that we use to express the reality and the truth that everything is energy. So one of the most primal, one of the most foundational ways. Hi, my Puerto Rican sister. That we can, one of the most foundational ways that we can harness the power of frequency is by truly understanding that every second, every drop of our reality we create. Now, some people will get offended if you tell them that because they don't want to believe that they have anything to do with the life they're living because they just inherited their life, right? But the primary principle to use to harness the truth of what is frequency is to understand that everything within dictates everything without. Everything that you see in your life, the flower, the mess, the clean floor, the whatever it is in all aspects of your life, whether it's your neighborhood, your emotional, everything is us. And in a lot of ways, that's very, greetings everyone. That's, in a lot of ways that can be empowering, but in other ways it can feel overwhelming to people. So one good thing to do to work with this truth of the fact that energy creates our environment, creates our entire reality in our life, is to pick one thing that you want to work on shifting and transforming. So for example, many of you know I've been doing a mostly coconut water fast. And mostly meaning like maybe one day I would have a handful of blueberries or maybe the next day I would have a small salad. But in general, I've been doing liquids. And, looking back on it, I've known that I needed to do a fast like this for some time. Really, I knew that for some time. However, I put it off. I put it off because I knew my entire life was going to change. And it has. Within about 4 days of me beginning this fast, this cleanse, and my frequency shifting as a result, a very life-changing transformation took place. One that I'm very much welcoming in and embracing and integrating into my life. But certainly I knew intuitively that as soon as I did a big frequency upgrade, transformation in the outer realms, right? In my outer world, in the circumstances of my life. Oh, Mount Shasta, thank you, thank you, thank you. Greetings to you as well. Greetings to all of you. It's so wonderful to be here with you. So there's diet, right? Diet is like a pretty basic one in the sense that I think we can all figure out that what we put inside the temple affects the temple. So it's like if we're in a physical temple of a building, and we come and we clean the temple with all types of harsh chemicals, and people come in the temple to pray and then they get sick breathing in the chemicals. What we put into the body is very instrumental. And I'm going to be announcing some interesting, yes, my brother Ankara, I just remembered when you said Mount Shasta. I'm going to be mentioning some specific offerings that have to do with the physical detoxing. So that's one thing that we know already, right? But then there are lots of other areas in our lives where we can make an effort, we can make a change, we can make a frequency upgrade that affects our general frequency, our general vibration. And if any of you have anything to share or would like to share any of the things that you have found useful, please share them in the chat. So we have the overstanding, first of all, in the mind that within, so without. We have that overstanding, as above, so below. We overstand that principle, right? Then we have the principle of doing healing and doing shadow work to shift the frequency of what was in the shadow. And then we have the diet. But I was taught a very powerful lesson this last week. And you know what it showed me? It showed me that no matter how much we cleanse the physical temple and we do our shadow work and we overstand and we truly embrace the fact that everything in our reality we create, there's another principle that really was, the universe really taught me this last week, which is that when we shift out of a oneness consciousness, when we allow even one cell of our being to shift into a space of separation with another human or with ourselves or with any aspect of our environments, we are creating the conditions for a shadow situation to take place. And when I say a shadow situation to take place, I mean a situation that catches us off guard that we weren't expecting. And I want to talk about that right now because in this type of eclipse portal, our shadows can create very unstable situations because they're situations that can catch us off guard because they represent parts of us that are unconscious. And they represent parts of us that our planetary ancestors need to help us see. And so for a full moon eclipse, which is what we're under now, full moons are about illumination. Full moons are about something being brought into the light. So that's why we want to do our shadow work, because of the fact that we want things to be in the light so that our planetary ancestors don't have to force them into the light. Because the energy of an eclipse, it is inherently an unstable energy. It is inherently a reset energy where anything can happen. It's like, just imagine like comets and shooting stars and it's just like there's no other time like it. So the whole oneness consciousness vibration is a vibration that spirit, the Most High, my ancestors are very, very, very much like on me, like that. Like as soon as I step out of that consciousness, it's like stay in the consciousness, stay aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your movements, how you're moving. Awareness, right? Stay aware, pay attention, because these frequencies, the more you begin to upgrade your frequency, the more the frequencies become very sensitive and more nuanced. So, things that you used to just do, they affect you in drastically different ways as your frequency increases than they used to before. Then I can say only for myself that many of the things that I used to do just as like, now and then, or it's just part of my ordinary life, were not options. They're not options for me anymore. Lessons and mastery being received from a Capricorn full moon. Yes. All right. So I want to keep this live to an hour. And so I want to actually go ahead and announce something that has been in the works that I have not shared with 99.9% of the people that I know. But I feel like part of the reason that Spirit brought me here to do a live tonight is to share with you all that I just want to turn on this light. Give me a second. To share with you that the Most High has asked me and invited me to travel to the mystical, the powerful, the fiery, the spiritual island of Jamaica. And I'm going to be collaborating with some very powerful beings there who have created an entire tropical oasis of healing. So this is an island, and this island has a lot of very powerful history and spiritual energy that surrounds it. And as a result, it was chosen as essentially a wellness center, a healing center. And a lot of works and love and efforts have been poured into, creating this as a space, a natural space, a very natural space where people can come to be in community to heal. And so in the next 24 hours, we're going to be posting all of the details of what's coming. But just to give you a sense of the types of offerings that are going to be made available beginning August 1st. There are going to be a couple of different length detox journeys. So people who really want to go through an entire temple purification process and to have someone there as a very experienced guide. That whole temple purification process will be there in both a one-on-one option and also in a group format option. And so I'll give you the details on the length and all of those things in the next 24 hours. There will be a retreat taking place that is a healer's retreat. So it's specifically for people who came here to be in service as healers, as light workers. And it's going to include, all of the beautiful aspects of getting to be on this land and to work with other healers and other teachers and spiritually supportive forces. I will mention that this land has some very powerful healing elements, such as mineral pools, waterfalls, fresh fed water sources from underground springs. So it's a very unusual place. And I'm very excited that the Most High has brought me into the ability to help bring forward and host people and to also create community, because that is a very strong aspect of the intention of this place. And so that's also something that is going to be more information will be shared about that in the future. But there's also going to be opportunities for people who would like to come co-create and help to create the foundation of what we're building there. So like I said, I wanted to just mention that this is taking place, and you can go to the website, which is thelandofoshun.com, and you can sign up there for notifications. You can continue to check the website for updates. As many of you know already, I have a very mystical and intimate, profound, special relationship with Oshun. Oshun is a frequency, an ancestor, a spiritual grandmother, a life force loving mother energy. She came to the New World through the transatlantic slave trade from West Africa with the Yoruba people. And, she is one of many of those ancestors who are really, they're really returning. They are returning in the sense of not that they ever left, but their presence and their decision to be more visible and to really start working with people in a lot more direct ways is expanding very powerfully right now. So a lot of people are starting to learn about who they are. And if you don't know who they are, you can type in Yoruba, Yoruba. You can type in Orishas, Orisha. And you'll start getting to know this aspect of our ancestry. And, for me personally, all I can say is that getting to know a West African spiritual ancestor who I didn't even know existed was a very important part of my own spiritual awakening, to acknowledge the existence of a spiritual energy that I didn't even know what it was, and to come through the process of discernment and awakening was a very big part of my journey. So for me to connect with a place called the Land of Oshun, those of you who know me, you can understand the significance. So, Oshun has two strong symbols, the peacock and the vulture. And it was not just the peacock that came to me during my awakening. It was also just as much the vulture. And the vulture is like the bird, our bird version of Pluto, right? About death and rebirth and transformation. And that's what we're doing right now. We are shifting frequencies. We are letting go. We're releasing. We're composting. So this energy is very potent right now. So just remind yourself as you go through this portal that you have the support of many around you spiritually. Many, 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 many. Not even just from your own culture and your own bloodline. There are many beautiful, powerful spiritual forces who have come to the earth right now to support this ascension, to support this transformation. And the consciousness of humanity is waking up so rapidly right now that I think we're finally getting to a point where we're reaching that critical mass, where the momentum that's being created by the awakening, I don't know if you all can feel it, but it feels like it's starting to shift. Like the scales are starting to rebalance. Where before we had way more people who were truly not awake. Way more people who did not understand that we're spiritual beings and who literally saw life as death and then you go to heaven or you go to hell. That was their paradigm. That's it. Living in a very fixed reality with a mindset that is very much in a box that has to do with good and evil, right and wrong, good and bad, a very kind of polarized type of framework. And people, partially through all the events that are going on right now, people are starting to reflect. People are starting to look inside in new ways, and the scales are starting to turn. They're starting to shift. So let me just see if there's any other aspects I want to mention to you guys right now. So remember how we've been talking about all of the planets that are in Capricorn right now as they're coming to transform the patriarchy and the old establishment, the old power structure? They came to dismantle the whole entire power structure. So right now, if you imagine, the astrology chart of the world right now, we have the moon in Capricorn, and then we have the moon coming through Capricorn 14 degrees exactly at the eclipse. But then guess what? The moon is going to keep going. And by tomorrow, guess what's going to happen? The moon is going to be conjuncting, guess who? Your best friend, Pluto. So, Pluto conjunct the moon is like a Scorpio moon because Pluto is, one of the main rulers of Scorpio. And so that energy of Pluto is going to really bring like that scorpionic energy to the moon. So that means the ability to really see through the dark, to have great psychic insight. However, the moon is also the inner child and our relationship to the mother. And so there can be intense transformation around issues that have to do with the mother. This full moon eclipse is also conjunct or next to the south node of the moon, which means our past lives. So a lot is being brought to the surface right now that needs to be healed. And so getting back to the vision and the calling that is taking place right now around the space that has been created for this time in Jamaica, that is one of the large reasons why these offerings are going to be taking place, is because this is the work that we came to do. And we didn't come to do this work alone. We came to do this work together in community, to support each other, to be there for each other, to offer that loving vibration as someone walks through the birth canal, to listen to them, to pray with them, to be present with them. The change is strong. I definitely feel the shift. Yes. So all I'm saying is don't let your guard down once you wake up tomorrow morning. And I don't mean to be like alarmist about that, but the moon coming through this eclipse and then passing straight through into Pluto and Jupiter and then soon to Saturn. And then Saturn right now just crossed, because Saturn is in retrograde along with Jupiter, Pluto, and Neptune. Because Saturn is retrograde, it's coming back through Capricorn. So we got through the conjunction with Jupiter and Pluto. Saturn finally was at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and then boom, 30 degrees of Capricorn shifted into Aquarius. And we're like, yay, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We finally arrived. Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius. I mean, if that's not a dawning of the age of Aquarius type of energy, I don't know what is. But guess what? Saturn said, nope. I've got one more thing to do. I'm going back. So now Saturn is back at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is called a critical degree. where the energy is intensified. And, Saturn is really about karma. So it's really about this whole process of, we reap what we sow. The harvesting of our thoughts, our actions, our energies, our intentions. Those things are returning to us now. And if you look around the world stage, you will see that as well. So, as you enter this portal, I just really encourage you to be very clear about where you're going and who you're becoming. Those of you who had one-on-one sessions with me this week, we focused a lot on that. What does the new you look like? Can you put it into form in your mind's eye? Can you envision who it is that you're becoming? So if you didn't hear the questions that we posed at the beginning of the live, we are asking ourselves, what does freedom look like to us? Because this 4th of July is not about what 4th of July used to be about. It's about the age of Aquarius. It's about freeing ourselves from these very limiting belief systems and paradigms that we inherited from the patriarchy, that we inherited from times when people were intentionally manipulated, where what they were taught to believe and how they were taught to think and behave was a controlled frequency. So now that you get to write the script, what script are you going to be writing? What vision, what reality, what frequency are you going to be walking in? So I want to thank each of you for being present. Our time on Instagram is coming to an end. I think we have about 1 minute left. So just so you know, we will be transitioning. And I think we covered all the things that I wanted to cover. Just please stay tuned at the Land of Oshun. You can check us on Instagram and on the website, thelandofoshun.com. And I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you there as possible, as soon as possible, as we're going to be creating a very, very pure frequency to hold the space and create the container for the individual and collective healing that we were called to create. So I love each of you. I'm sending you many blessings, much gratitude for your walk in this world and for your courage and showing up and doing this work. Ashe. Ashe.